Dragon Aprons Chapter 1. Book Week Excitement. Suzy Thompson bounced in her chair, her ponytail swishing like a metronome. The classroom buzzed with chatter, and Mrs. Hill, their cheerful English teacher, clapped her hands to quiet everyone down. "Class," she said with a smile, "next week is Book Week. Each of you will bring a book you love and share it with the class." Few kids groaned. Some cheered. Suzy's eyes lit up like fairy lights. "Maybe you'll bring a mystery or a comic, or even a cookbook," Mrs. Hill continued. "The most creative book share will get a special prize." "That prize is mine," Suzy thought, already dreaming of glittering dragons and magical forests. As soon as the bell rang, Suzy zoomed home on her pink scooter, her backpack bouncing like a loaf of bread in the basket. "Mom! Mom!" she called, bursting through the front door. Her mom peeked out from the kitchen, flour dusting her sleeves. "What's the hurry, sweet pea? It's Book Week at school. We have to bring a book we love. Can we go to the bookstore today?" Suzy asked, practically dancing. Mom sighed, brushing her hands on her apron. "Oh, Suzy, I've got a ton of work to finish. The laundry's piling up, the dishes are still in the sink, and I haven't even started dinner." Suzy frowned for a moment. Then she perked up. "What if I help you, Mom? We'll get everything done quicker together." Mom raised an eyebrow. "You want to do chores?" Suzy nodded, eyes wide. "Yes. I'll fold the laundry and even clean the loo if it means we can go look at dragon books. They're just so cool. Some breathe fire, some fly, and some are even good guys. I want one with a girl knight who rides a dragon made of storm clouds." Mom laughed. All right. Let's team up. You fold clothes and tidy the living room while I tackle the kitchen. Deal. Suzy grinned, already off like a knight on a quest. As she folded socks into clumsy pairs and dusted behind the sofa, she kept mumbling about dragons under her breath. "Maybe my dragon's name will be Zephyr. Or Smoketail. No, Stormclaw." Mom peeked in, smiling. "Still thinking about dragons, are you?" "Always," Suzy said proudly. "And if we finish this quick, I'll find the perfect book about them too." Dragon Aprons Chapter 2. Surprise Visitors. Just as Suzy was stacking the last pile of folded clothes onto the sofa, the doorbell rang. Ding dong. Suzy rushed to open it and found her best friend Tina, standing there with her mom. Tina wore bright green trainers and a sparkly backpack shaped like a watermelon. She was holding a little pink box tied with string. "Hey, Suzy." Tina grinned. "Mom and I just came from the bakery, and I brought you something." She opened the box to reveal 4 colorful cupcakes, each with swirls of frosting and tiny edible stars on top. Suzy's eyes widened. "No way. These look amazing." Behind her, Tina's mom smiled. "Hello, Suzy." "Hello, Mrs. Thompson. Thought we'd stop by for a quick hello. We know how much you girls love cupcakes." Suzy's mom came out of the kitchen, wiping her hands on her apron. "Oh, how sweet. Thank you, Tina. We just finished our chores," Suzy said proudly. "We were trying to get everything done so we could go to the bookstore. It's Book Week at school." Tina's eyes lit up. "Ours too. I already picked a mystery last year, so now I want something different. Maybe something funny. Or magical." "I'm going to find a dragon book," Suzy said, grabbing a cupcake. "With flying and fire and everything." Tina laughed. "Of course you are. Dragons are your thing." She looked up at her mom. "Can we go to the bookstore too? Please?" Her mom nodded. "That sounds like a great idea. Why don't we all go together?" Suzy's mom smiled. "We've earned a little outing, haven't we?" Suzy clapped her hands. "Yes. To cupcakes and book quests. And dragons and detective cats," Tina added, taking a bite of her cupcake. With frosting on their lips and stories on their minds, the girls skipped ahead as the mums followed, chatting and laughing. The little bookshop on the corner was waiting, and who knew what magical worlds they'd discover inside. Dragon Aprons Chapter 3. At the bookshop. The little bookshop at the corner of Maple Street had a big glass window filled with paper stars and colorful books stacked like treasure chests. A bell jingled as Suzy, Tina, and their mum stepped inside. It smelled like paper, cinnamon tea, and magic. "Whoa," Tina whispered. Books lined every wall and stood tall in wooden shelves that seemed to go on forever. A spinning rack near the door held comic books, and a cozy reading nook in the back had bean bags shaped like giant apples. "This place is a dream," Suzy breathed, her eyes wide. The girls darted off in different directions, their mums following behind at a slower pace. Suzy's mum stopped by a shelf filled with cookbooks and recipe collections. Her fingers traced the spines as she smiled. Maybe I'll find something new to try at home." Meanwhile, Suzy headed straight to the fantasy section, her sneakers squeaking on the floor. "Look," she cried, holding up a thick book with silver foil on the cover. Stormclaw and the Ember Queen, the dragon had glowing red eyes. Tina was nearby, flipping through a comic about a cat wizard. "That looks epic. Read the back." Suzy did. In a land of shadows and fire, Stormclaw must choose between protecting his queen or saving his own kind. She shivered with excitement. "Okay, this one's a maybe." A few minutes later, Suzy returned with 2 more books clutched to her chest. One was called The Dragon Atlas, filled with maps and sketches of different dragon species. The other was The Dragon Who Couldn't Breathe Fire, a story about a tiny dragon who learns he's special in his own way. Tina raised an eyebrow. "You know you can't get all 3, right?" Suzy looked at her books like they were puppies. "But I love them all. This one has a map. This one has Stormclaw. And this one made me almost cry." "Maybe think about which one you'll be most excited to share in class," Tina said, helpful as ever. "You want the prize, right?" Suzy sat cross-legged on the floor, spreading the books out in front of her like a treasure hoard. She frowned, thinking hard. Meanwhile, Tina wandered into the next aisle labeled Humor and Mystery. She paused in front of a display shaped like a giant detective hat, stacked with books featuring animals solving crimes. "Suzy," she called over the shelves. "I think I found mine." Suzy popped her head around the corner. "Did you get Detective Cat in the case of the missing lasagna again?" "Nope." Tina held up a shiny new paperback. Pigeon P.I., the bird who solved everything. The cover showed a grumpy pigeon in a trench coat holding a tiny magnifying glass. He was surrounded by crumbs and suspicious-looking sparrows. Suzy laughed. "That's so you." "Exactly. I love it," Tina said proudly. "Plus, it's short enough that I can make a comic strip to go with it for my presentation." "I wish dragons solved crimes," Suzy sighed. "Then we could mash our books together." "Next year," Tina grinned. After a few moments of quiet flipping and sighing, Suzy hugged one close to her chest. "Okay, this is it." "Stormclaw and the Ember Queen?" Tina guessed. Suzy nodded. "It's got adventure, dragons, a queen, and I can make a cool poster for it. Plus, look at those flaming wings." Tina grinned. "Good choice, Dragon Girl." Just then, their mums appeared with a basket of books and bookmarks. Suzy's mum was holding a colorful cookbook titled Delicious Dishes from Around the World. "Look what I found," she said, smiling. "Maybe I can try some new recipes while you get ready for book week." Suzy's eyes sparkled. "Oh, I can't wait to try some of those recipes. Maybe I'll help you cook." Tina grinned and nudged Suzy. "I need an invitation to taste test too. Good food deserves good company." Suzy laughed. "Deal. You'll be my official food critic." "Ready?" Suzy's mum asked. "Ready," Suzy said, proudly placing her chosen book on the counter. She couldn't wait to start reading, and she already had ideas swirling in her head for her class presentation. Outside, the sky rumbled gently as if Stormclaw himself had roared in approval. Dragon Aprons Chapter 4. The Showdown. The next morning, Suzy Thompson walked into school carrying her treasured book, Stormclaw and the Ember Queen, like a golden trophy. Her heart pounded with excitement and a little nervous flutter. In the classroom, Mrs. Hill had set up a special Book Week Share corner, decorated with colorful banners and fairy lights. One by one, the students stood up to tell their classmates about the books they'd chosen. First was Ben, who held up a thick book called Galactic Explorers. "This book is about a team of space adventurers who travel to different planets," he explained. "They meet aliens, solve mysteries, and have to work together to save their spaceship when it breaks down in a dangerous asteroid field. It's full of action and cool gadgets." Next, May stepped up with a colorful picture book titled The Secret Garden of Whispers. "It's about a magical garden that only appears when you believe in magic," May said softly. "A girl named Lily finds the garden and makes friends with talking animals. Together, they try to stop an evil spell that's making the flowers wilt. It's a beautiful story about hope and friendship." When it was Suzy's turn, she stepped forward confidently and held up Stormclaw and the Ember Queen. "This book is about a brave dragon named Stormclaw who has to protect his queen from danger," She began, her voice bright. But the hardest part is choosing between saving his queen or saving his own kind. There are fiery battles, magical forests, and lots of surprises. And I made a poster with Stormclaw's flaming wings to show you. The room buzzed with ohs and ahs. When Suzy finished, her friend Emma raised her hand eagerly. Can I see your book, Suzy? It sounds amazing, she said. Suzy smiled and carefully handed Stormclaw and the Ember Queen to Emma. Emma flipped through the pages, her eyes wide with excitement. The pictures are so cool. I love the glowing red eyes on the covers, she said. Suzy felt proud. I'm going to read it again tonight. Maybe you can borrow it after I'm done. After everyone had shared, Mrs. Hill gave each student a ballot to vote for their favorite book presentation, but they couldn't vote for their own. Excited whispers filled the room as the votes were collected and counted. Finally, Mrs. Hill smiled and announced the winner of our Book Week prizes. Suzy Thompson. The class erupted in cheers as Suzy's cheeks turned rosy with happiness. I knew Stormclaw would roar his way to victory. She whispered to Tina, who gave her a high five. That night, Suzy dreamed of dragons, glowing eyes, and magical adventures yet to come. Dragon Aprons Chapter 5. Cooking adventure begins. The weekend arrived with sunshine and a gentle breeze. Suzy woke up early, buzzing with excitement, not just because of her dragon book, but because her mom had something special planned. Suzy, her mom said, holding up the colorful cookbook she'd found at the bookstore, delicious dishes from around the world. How about we try one of these recipes today? Cooking together sounds like a perfect way to spend the afternoon. Suzy's eyes sparkled. Yes. Can we make something fun and tasty? Maybe something with spices or something from a faraway place. Her mom smiled. Let's pick a recipe and then head to the supermarket to get everything we need. They sat at the kitchen table, flipping through pages filled with vibrant photos and delicious dishes. After a lively discussion, they chose a recipe for spicy chicken tacos, bright, colorful, and packed with flavor. Together, they wrote down the ingredients on a notepad: chicken, tortillas, fresh tomatoes, onions, lettuce, cheese, and some special spices. Later, Suzy and her mom grabbed their shopping bags and headed to the local supermarket. The aisle smelled of fresh bread, sweet fruits, and herbs. Suzy marveled at the colorful rows of vegetables and spices. Look at all these different peppers. Which one do we need? Her mom pointed to the label. This one's smoked paprika. It'll add a nice smoky flavor. As they picked up the ingredients, Suzy imagined the dragon-themed feast they'd have once the tacos were ready. Back at home, Suzy and her mom laid out all the ingredients on the kitchen counter like treasures from a cooking quest. Aprons on, Mom declared, tying hers with a neat bow. Suzy grinned and pulled hers over her head. It had little dragons breathing fire on cupcakes. They started chopping, stirring, and setting up pans. Suzy carefully grated cheese while Mom marinated the chicken. Everything was going smoothly, until her mom paused and frowned at the spice jar. Oh no, she murmured, checking the recipe again. I forgot the cumin. That's the key flavor for the tacos. She glanced at Suzy, who was busy lining up the taco shells on a tray like they were knights in shining armor. Not wanting to interrupt her excitement, Mom said, I'll be right back. Sweet pea, just popping out for a moment. Okay. Suzy called from the kitchen, not looking up. Mom grabbed her keys and the shopping bag and hurried down the street to the market, hoping it wouldn't take long. Meanwhile, Suzy hummed a dragon song and danced around the kitchen, completely unaware that her cooking partner was off on a mini-mission of her own. Dragon Aprons Chapter 6. A smoky surprise. Suzy wiped her hands on her apron and skipped into the living room. Mom? Is the chicken ready yet? Silence. She peeked into the hallway. No keys. No shoes. The front door was locked, but Mom wasn't anywhere. Suzy's brow furrowed. She walked back into the kitchen, expecting to find her mom at the stove, but the pot sat empty and cold. She picked up her mom's phone from the counter and gave her a call. Suzy. Mom answered, a little breathless. I'm so sorry, love. I just popped out for cumin and got stuck in traffic. I'll be home in 20 minutes, promise. Oh, Suzy said quietly, trying not to sound disappointed. I should have told you, but don't worry. Just wait for me, okay? Okay, Mom, she replied. But when she hung up, she stared at the half-prepped kitchen, her dragon-themed apron fluttering as she turned. A spark of determination flickered inside her. What if I made it myself? She thought. It would be such a nice surprise for Mom. Like a gift from one dragon to another. She reread the recipe twice, took a deep breath, and got to work. She chopped the tomatoes carefully, stirred the marinade, and turned on the stove, feeling proud with each step. But when she got to the chicken, something went wrong. She left it on the pan for just a few minutes too long while searching for the tortillas. And then, sizzle, crackle, smoke. A blackened smell filled the kitchen and Suzy yelped, grabbing a towel to wave away the smoky air. The chicken was burnt. Not golden, not spicy, just crisp, too crisp. Her heart dropped. She turned off the stove and stared at the mess. Blackened chicken, a smoky pan, and a trail of flour footprints from all her hurrying. She sat on the floor, cheeks burning as much as the pan had. Mom's going to be so mad. Suzy hugged her knees and tried not to cry, dragon apron and all. Dragon Aprons Chapter 7. A Second Chance. The front door creaked open just as Suzy was still sitting on the kitchen floor, hugging her knees. "Suzy," her mum called out. "In here," Suzy replied softly. Her mum stepped into the kitchen and stopped. There were floury footprints on the tiles, a mountain of dishes in the sink, and a pan on the stove that looked very, very black. The smell of burnt chicken still hung in the air like a smoky cloud. Suzy looked up, ready for the scolding she thought she deserved. But instead of yelling, her mum's face softened. "Oh, sweetheart," she said gently, kneeling beside her. "What happened?" I wanted to surprise you," Suzy sniffled. "I tried to make the recipe, but I burned it. I thought you'd be mad." Her mum gave her a big hug. "Mad? Suzy, I'm proud of you for trying. Cooking's messy, trust me, I've made worse disasters than this when I was your age." Suzy blinked. "Really?" "Absolutely. And guess what? I still have half the ingredients in the fridge. We can start over together." "Thank God. I thought I wasted everything." Suzy hesitated. "I better just watch you by the corner. What if I mess it up again?" Her mum smiled. "Then we learn from it. That's what cooking is, trying, tasting, and sometimes burning things a little. Now are you with me?" Suzy bit her lip, then nodded. Together they cleaned the mess, laughing when a dusting of flour poofed into the air, and laid out the fresh ingredients. Suzy mixed the marinade this time, carefully measuring each spice while Mum watched. They stirred, chopped, sizzled, and sprinkled. And when the dish was finally ready, the kitchen smelled amazing. Suzy took a bite and grinned. "Mum, this is the best thing we've ever made." Her mum clinked her spoon against Suzy's. To second chances and brave little chefs. Dragon Aprons Chapter 8. Green Ideas on a Red Light. The next morning, Suzy and her mum were driving to school, the warm smell of leftover herbs still clinging to their jackets from the night before. Suzy gazed out of the car window, watching sleepy shopkeepers unlock their stores and kids dash along the pavement with backpacks bouncing. As they pulled up to a red light, Suzy's eyes widened. "Mom, look, look!" Across the street, stuck to a bakery window, was a big, bright poster. It had a rolling pin, a chef's hat, and bold red letters. Junior and Family Cooking Competition. 1 week away. Cook as a team and show your flavor. You have to enter. Suzy shouted, pointing excitedly. "You're the best cook ever." Her mum laughed. "Oh, Suzy, I don't know about that." "I do," Suzy said, bouncing in her seat. "Remember how amazing our food was last night? And how much fun we had? You have to try. Please, Mum. Please." The light turned green. Her mum gave a small smile, then sighed. "Well, maybe we can look at the registration form after school." "Yes." Suzy threw her arms in the air. "We're totally going to win." Later that afternoon, true to her word, Mum sat at the kitchen table with Suzy, reading the details on a printed form. "Teams of 2, a creative recipe, and 1 hour to cook it live," Mum read aloud. "And 7 days to prepare." "I'll help test everything," Suzy grinned. "I'll even do the dishes." Her mum chuckled. "All right then. Let's give it a go." Together, they pulled out the now well-loved recipe book from the bookshelf and began flipping through the pages. Suzy stuck little colored tabs on her favorites. A bright green curry, a savory pie shaped like a star, and a rainbow salad with crunchy toppings. "Ooh, what about this one?" Suzy asked, pointing to a dish with golden pastry shaped like a dragon. Her mum smiled. "That might be a little too ambitious." "But dragons are our thing." Suzy giggled. They bookmarked a few more and agreed to test one recipe each day until they found the one. The competition clock had started ticking, but Suzy felt ready. Because this time she and her mom were cooking as a team. Dragon Aprons Chapter 9. The Taste Test Team. By Thursday, the kitchen had turned into a mini test kitchen, full of sizzling pans, floury counters, and the delicious smell of ambition. Suzy's mom had already tried 2 recipes from the book, and now it was time for the big decision. But Suzy had an idea. "Let's invite Tina and her mom to be our judges," she said, stirring a bowl with excitement. "We need real opinions." Her mom raised an eyebrow. "So we're running our own cooking show now?" Suzy grinned. "Exactly. Like Suzy's test kitchen. With special guests." That afternoon, Tina and her mom arrived, curious and hungry. Tina even brought scorecards, cut from notebook paper, with categories like Yum Factor, Looks Cool, and Smells Amazing. "All right, chefs," Tina said, giggling as she waved her pretend microphone. "Let the taste test begin." Suzy and her mom brought out 3 dishes. The golden veggie pockets, flaky and packed with cheese and colorful vegetables. A starry noodle stir-fry shaped with tiny veggie stars and a zesty soy glaze. A sweet and savory swirls. A pastry roll-up with spiced chicken and a surprise honey drizzle. Each dish got an OS and thoughtful head tilts as the judges tasted. "I love the crunch of this one," Tina's mom said about the veggie pockets. "But this swirl one has that surprise sweet bite at the end," Tina declared, holding up her card. "That's a winner." Everyone voted with their cards. The result? Sweet and savory swirls, the champion. Suzy clapped. "Yes, that one's my favorite too." Her mom smiled. "Looks like we've got our competition recipe." They scribbled down notes, tweaked the spice level just a bit, and circled the page in the recipe book with a star. "I can't believe we're actually doing this," Suzy whispered as they cleaned up. "You mean winning this?" Tina whispered back with a wink. Suzy felt a flutter of nerves and excitement. In just a few days they'd be cooking live, and she couldn't wait. Dragon Aprons Chapter 10. The Mix-Up Mystery. The morning sun peeked through the curtains, and Suzy was already dressed in her matching apron and headband. "It's today," she whispered to herself, barely able to hold still. Her mom entered the kitchen with a wide smile. "Ready to swirl and sizzle?" Suzy nodded. "Sweet and savory swirls, here we come." They packed their ingredients carefully, double-checked their cooking gear, and hopped into the car. The cooking competition was being held at the town hall, where a row of tables had been set up like tiny kitchens. There were teams everywhere. Mums, dads, kids, and even a pair of grandmas with matching oven mitts. Everyone looked busy, focused, and a little nervous. "Just have fun," Suzy's mom said, tying her apron. "That's the secret ingredient." Suzy smiled. "No pressure. Except I really want to win." They got to work. Dough rolled, fillings chopped, pans heated. For a while, everything went perfectly. The swirls were in the oven, golden and rising, and Suzy couldn't stop bouncing on her toes. "They smell so good, Mom." But then, her mom licked a bit of the sauce off a spoon. She frowned, then took another taste. Her eyes widened. "Suzy," she said slowly, "did we use sugar instead of salt?" Suzy blinked. "What? No way, wait." The jars were switched on the table. They both looked at the countertop. The salt and sugar jars were identical, same shape, same label style. A sticky note marked salt was loosely peeling off one. "Oh no," Suzy gasped. "The filling's too sweet. Can we remake this?" Her mom's face tightened. She checked the ingredient basket quickly, then sighed. "I'm afraid we don't have time to remake this dish." At that exact moment, they heard a few giggles from the table behind them. Suzy turned and caught 2 girls whispering and glancing their way. Her stomach dropped. Was it on purpose? "But we can't serve this," Suzy whispered, panic rising. Her mom hesitated, eyes darting toward the clock. 10 minutes left. Then she took a deep breath and knelt beside Suzy. Dragon Aprons Chapter 11. Practice perfect. Suzy stared at the clock, then at the ruined swirls. They smelled sweet, too sweet. The savory dish they had planned was now more like dessert soup. Her mom was still checking the supplies, hoping for a miracle. "We can't fix the swirls," she murmured. And we don't have time to start over. Suzy's eyes darted to the corner of the cooler. Wait, what about the spicy chicken? Her mom blinked. What? Suzy said quickly, her words tumbling out. Let's make the spicy chicken tacos. We have mastered it so well. We can finish that within the time too. Her mom looked at her stunned, then grinned. You genius. Without wasting another second, they switched gears. Suzy tossed the chicken pieces into the sizzling pan while her mom chopped tomatoes, onions, and a quick slaw. Spices flew, tongs clattered, and the air filled with a mouth-watering aroma of garlic, chili, and lime. The audience turned to watch. The giggling contestants next door went quiet. 2 minutes, the announcer called. They worked like a pair of superheroes, flipping, filling, garnishing. Suzy folded the last taco onto a little paper tray just as the bell rang. Time's up. Breathing hard, Suzy stepped back. The spicy chicken tacos sat neatly in a row, 5 perfect golden shells filled with juicy chicken, colorful veggies, and a drizzle of creamy lime sauce. The judges walked by, clipboards in hand. They took bites, nodded, and whispered to one another. Suzy held her mom's hand tightly as they waited. Finally, the head judge stepped forward with a microphone. This year's competition was full of surprises, he said. But one team impressed us not just with flavor, but creativity, teamwork, and resilience. Suzy's heart pounded. The winners are Team Thompson. Those spicy chicken tacos are just firecrackers in the mouth. So flavorful. So juicy. Cheers erupted. Suzy's jaw dropped. We won. Her mom laughed and pulled her into a hug. We did it. Tina and her mom clapped from the crowd, cheering loudest of all. As they stood on stage with their golden mixing spoon trophy, Suzy looked up and smiled. I guess dragons aren't the only ones who breathe fire. Her mom laughed. That's my spicy little chef. And from that day on, whenever they cooked together, they remembered. Mistakes can turn into magic, if you're brave enough to try again. Later that evening, the house smelled like celebration. Spices, laughter, and just a hint of cupcake frosting from their earlier victory treat. Suzy placed the golden mixing spoon trophy carefully on the kitchen shelf, right next to her mom's favorite cookbooks. It gleamed in the soft light, almost as bright as her smile. Her mom came into the room holding a photo frame. Inside was a snapshot from earlier that day. Suzy in her flour-dusted apron, grinning beside her mom, both of them holding the trophy together. We'll always remember this moment, her mom said softly, hanging the frame on the wall just above the kitchen counter. Suzy looked at it proudly. Our first win. Her mom smiled. The first of many.